Hello everyone and welcome to the trigonometry mini lecture. So the first question that we're going to solve here is if cosine of x equals 3 over 5 and sine of x is greater than 0, so in other words sine of x is positive because if something is greater than 0, that means it's positive. We need to find sine x, tan x, and then some other stuff later on, secant x, cosecant of x, cotangent of x, sine of 2x, and cosine of 2x. So a lot of this will involve formulae from the formula sheet. So firstly, we've got cosine is 3 over 5, and that means we know from SOHCAHTOA that cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So a good starting point here would be to draw a right triangle. So let's draw our right angle triangle, and we're finding cosine of x, which means that in this case x is going to be our angle, and we've got a 90-degree angle in the bottom left there. So our adjacent side is going to be 3. That's the side connecting our right angle to our angle x. And our hypotenuse is 5. So we need to start by finding the remaining side, which is going to be, let's call this y. Now, Pythagoras' theorem, a squared equals b squared plus c squared, tells us that y squared plus 3 squared is equal to 5 squared. And if we calculate 3 squared and 5 squared, we've got y squared plus 9 equals 25. And that means that y squared is 16, which means that y is going to be 4. So here we've got a side length of 4. Now from that, we can find the value of sine x, because we know that sine is opposite divided by the hypotenuse, which means that it's going to be opposite is 4 and the hypotenuse is 5. So therefore, we have sine x is equal to 4 over 5. Now, what about tan x? So tan x, we know tan to be the opposite divided by the adjacent. So opposite side is 4 and the adjacent is 3. We get tan of x is 4 over 3. Now we come to some of the more unknown trig functions. So firstly, we have secant x, and secant is, from the formula sheet, that is equal to 1 divided by cosine of x. But we know what cosine of x is already. We know that cosine x is 3 over 5, so this is going to be 1 over 3 over 5, and if we've got 1 over a fraction, we can simplify that by turning the fraction upside down. So this is going to be 1 over 3 over 5 is just 5 over 3. And let's make it clear that that is a 5 and not a 6. Okay, so cosec or cosecant, from the formula sheet, that is 1 over sine x. Now we have previously calculated the value of sine x. So before we calculated that sine x was 4 over 5. So this is going to be 1 over 4 over 5. And if we simplify this, again, we've got 1 divided by a fraction, meaning we can turn the fraction upside down. So this gives us 5 over 4. Now for cotangent of x, that's equal to, from the formula sheet, 1 over tan x, and we've already found tan x previously. We found it back there to be 4 over 3. So we've got 1 over 4 over 3, and if we calculate that, we get turn the fraction upside down if it's 1 divided by, and we get 3 over 4. Now we come to sine of 2x, and from the formula sheet, again, we've got a formula for that, which is 2 multiplied by sine x multiplied by cosine x. So this is going to be 2 multiplied by sine x. What did we find before? We found that sine x was 4 over 5. So 2 times 4 over 5. And in the original question, we were given that cosine of x is 3 over 5. And if we calculate that, we've got multiplying 3 fractions. So if we're multiplying fractions, we go straight across the top. So 2 times 4 times 3, that is 24. And along the bottom, we've got 1 times 5, which is 25. So sine of 2x, in other words, double the angle, we find sine of 2x, we get 24 over 25. And cosine of 2x, we have a formula for that as well, which is going to be cosine squared of x minus sine squared of x from the formula sheet. And this cos squared and sine x is a shorthand way of writing the whole cos of x in brackets, and that's squared, and same thing for sine of x. So we've got cosine of x, that value squared, minus sine of x, that value squared. Now cosine of x, going back to the original question, was 3 over 5. And that's squared. And sine of x we found in part A of the question to be 4 over 5. So 3 upon 5 squared minus 4 over 5 squared. Now, if we're squaring a fraction, we just square the top. So 3 squared is 9 over square the bottom. So 9 over 25 minus 4 squared is 16 over 5 squared is 25. Now we can only subtract fractions if we've got a common denominator. In other words, the same number on the bottom of both fractions. But here we have a common denominator. Here we have 25 on the bottom of both fractions. So we're going to get something over 25. And what we're going to get is 9 minus 16 on the top. And 9 minus 16 is negative 7 over 25. Thanks for watching.